Hey everyone, Rabbit Hedgehog here, and we want to thank our sponsors before the start of this video. Shout out to Law Tigers out there riding with us right now, but standing with us in the event of an accident. Need custom racing leathers or gear for the everyday ride? AGVSportUSA is here for that, and based out of Argyle, Texas, and serving riders nationwide. Also, we want to thank Doug Crawford, an independent AMSOIL dealer, for providing us with the fluids that keep our machines running well on into the future. Visit the description below for web links and contact details to get in touch with them today. What's up everybody, this is the Rabbit Hedgehog and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to do something that is oft discussed and I have not had a chance to do this yet. The Harley-Davidson Lowrider ST versus the Indian motorcycle Sport Chief RT and what comparison that they might be. Now granted, I do have some cheat sheets here so I can try to get as much detail as I can. We'll take this one for a ride. I have ridden the Sport Chief RT, and you can look for that video. I'll put a link down in the description below to go to that video, and we'll go from there because I know how those ride. I know how the Sport Chiefs ride. Now, this one is not a fully stock Lowrider ST. This one has a different riser setup and, of course, different exhaust. Now, it does have the 2-in-1 just like the regular ST does, but this is an S&S pipe on it, and then you got the back stuff added to it and also some different pegs and some other stuff, so a little bit different here, but for the most part this is going to be the same. They come with that snorkel design, they come with that fairing there. A lot of people, this is the West Coast style fairing thing, so the Harley-Davidson takes theirs from the FXRT series. Ours is just a basic quarter fairing essentially that we have designed very much well based on that West Coast custom as well. So things that are similar, both of these have 43mm inverted forks. Both of them have 5.1 inches of travel on the front. Where they differ now is that the ST, being a Softail, has the hidden shock that's under the seat. So this is actually a monoshock under the seat, so this is where Harley is a little bit more modern than the Indian. And you have 4 inches of travel with the twin shocks over here, and you'll see that they are behind here. These are the piggyback reservoir Fox style, which are fully adjustable on this one. This one here, you know, normally Harley has some sort of a deal to do this, but you do have to adjust this one under the seat to get your adjustment for your preloads and stuff. So you don't have the little reservoir clicky on the side like you normally do. This one you'll have to remove the seat. Those you don't have to remove anything to get to. They're right there in the open and you can do the full adjustment. But 4.5 inches of travel. Actually, technically it's 4.4 inches of travel there. Like I said, I'm going to use my cheat sheet here and there. And then that one's 4 inches right there. So there's your difference where this one actually has, this one here actually has a little bit better suspension in terms of how they work, whereas this one is a little bit less. Of course, this one's a twin shock, mono shock as well. So that's a pretty big difference. Usually Indian has the mono shock and Harley has the twin shocks in the back, especially on the touring models, but that is not the case here. So the Milwaukee 8 here, this is the 117 engine on this one. This one actually has a little bit more power. It's rated for 103 horsepower and 125 foot-pounds of torque. And the reason why is because the Milwaukee 8 benefits from the twin spark plugs and the 4 valves per cylinder. Because that has a little bit more air flowing through it, it can get a little bit more power out of it. It's not necessarily the displacement on that, it's more so the design of the engine. Where our engine is a more traditional design, single spark plug, 2-valve engine. So we're gonna get 120 foot-pounds of torque and only around 92 horsepower out of this bike here. Now going back to the ST, I'm going to look at my cheat sheet here. This one's coming in at about 721 pounds ready to ride. So that's with everything that you see here, gas and everything. Where ours is coming in at 714 pounds, so a little bit less weight on ours. Another difference too is you're going to have a 28.3 inch seat height here and a 27.4 inch seat height there, so almost an inch difference between the two. in terms of their seating position. Forward mounted pegs, mid mounted pegs, another difference there. This one's lean angle is a 31.3. This one's slightly better at 32 degree of lean angle. So you have a little bit more turning ability on the Indian than you do the ST. Some other design choices. When Indian did these bags here, they open from the back and they open up like so. So this is a weatherproof bag just like that is. However, it does open from the back and it opens up to the front. That's actually better to me. Now I'm going to pull this one open to show that you can fit a half helmet in there. There's also the owner's manuals and stuff in this one, so I'll put those both together. Now I'm going to take this back here because I don't know about this yet. I haven't really played with these. Now, one thing about these designs on the clamshell, I'm not a fan of clamshell bags, and it's a simple fact of A, they don't have much storage ability. It's not deep here, it's more deep in the lid. So when you put something in it, if you can get it in there, there we go. There's a half helmet there. Can I shut the bag? I can still shut the bag, so you can fit a half helmet in there. But you notice you have to put all the weight onto the door of this thing. Now this is designed with a couple of stays here. You have this hydraulic stay here and this mechanical mesh, whatever you want to say here, that will do that. But yeah, this is a quick release bag. The cool thing is whenever you spin it, it does have a little red flag that says I am unlocked to remind you not to take off. This is lockable just as much as ours is. But another problem I have with these, now this isn't going to be an issue with this one, but on former clamshell bikes that I've had, you open this and of course everything falls to that side. But there's also another thing. Yeah, you're a little bit thinner here in the back because of the profile than you are with those style of bags. But when you're in a parking space and you're so close together, these are a nightmare because you have to move your bike out of the way to get it open and allow it to do stuff, because you might open into the bike that's sitting next to you. And yeah, I'm not a fan of that design at all. Flipping forward, being just a smidge wider and flipping forward, a little bit better design over there for sure. But yeah, these, you can hit something, scratch that up a whole lot easier. And that's one thing about the clamshell design I'm not a massive fan of, for sure. So again, about 10 gallons of storage there. I'm not sure what they have listed for the ST, but they're very similar in storage. These are thinner and longer, and those are wider and, you know, just a little bit more stout. So just a little bit different design philosophies on each of those, but they do about the same job. But when it comes down to it, it is going to be some rider preferences and some other things that's going to go with it. Another difference too is that the ST doesn't have the audio system like the Sport Chief RT does. This is what you get. Now this is the older one. The newer one now has the traditional dial again. So you do get the ride modes. You do get some stuff that this one does not have, that the Sport Chief RT did at the time, but now they are equal in that point. However, the Sport Chief RT still has ride command with Bluetooth connectivity and also navigation and some other stuff that this does not quite have yet. So that's another difference. You're also looking at MSRP, not of the heavy metal one though, but it's still cheaper. It's $22,999, but you can get the black smoke for $22,499, and this bad boy here is $23,999, and that's where you start with the Lowrider ST. Another thing about this fairing is I don't know why it's not braced well. This one's much smaller, but it is braced on there and multiple points. Yeah, does it have a little wiggle? Yes, but this thing is just floppy. I'm not a fan of that at all. That is too much plastic with no support. I know it's got this little support down here, same on the other side, but barely anything other than this bracket here that you can see comes all the way back here. It's a huge chonky bracket that goes up there to hold the front end of it, and then this little point right here. It's weak. So that's just more of a fit and finish kind of thing for me on that one. But not everybody will see it that way. I understand that. So the big question would be, how does this one ride versus that one? Again, I've ridden this one, so I'll post my thoughts on that one in the video description below. But let's take this one for a ride and see how this one rides. All right, and before we take off on this ride, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors real quick. AGVSportUSA for providing the gear for us to keep us safe and sound while we're riding. I also want to thank Law Tigers of Oklahoma, out there right now serving our communities, but whenever we need help and in something that comes with law and motorcycles, give them a call. They'll be able to help you out, whether it be insurance or whatever it might be regarding your legal needs on a motorcycle. And also Doug Crawford and USA Synthetics for his Ames oil distribution as well, keeping the internals of our engines nice and clean and safe and ready to roll. So I'm going to also preface this as well. This is not the first time I've actually ridden this one. The day that I made the intro video, I rode it and the audio failed. So I already have kind of a idea of what I think of this thing. And as you can tell by the tone of my voice, it's, well, not great. But we're going to go ahead and rewrite it again and go about what it is in terms of riding the Lowrider ST. Now remember, they come up with the Lowrider S at the end of the twin cam era, so you get the 2016s and stuff like that, and they start coming out. And then goes to the Milwaukee 8 era, and then we get to the ST where it's got the lovely fairing and all this other stuff going on. But again, I think I was happier when it was a twin cam. Anywho, let's go over the controls here. Of course, your clutch and everything non-adjustable, cable operated. This is your information over here on the left side. So you got your mileage. This one's actually been quite a few miles, 61,063. Trip A, Trip B, your remaining fuel, and then your clock, and then your tachometer. Back to your main odometer there. Horn, brights and flash to pass. Your turn signals, left and right. And then also your cruise control on this one. You do have your hazards, your starter, and your engine cutoff switch on this side. No paddles on the back, but I do like the classic ergonomic layout. I'm glad to see this one because I don't like the modern one where everything's on top or around or weird and you got to constantly change your hand position, which that's dumb. I like everything being right there on your thumbs and everything, so that's a good thing to see the classic one back. Left and right, fuel light, brights, neutral, oil, ABS indicator, security, tire pressure monitoring, cruise control ready, service engine, battery, and fog lamps. Of course, this one does not have those installed. All right, we'll go ahead and start this one up. Now, another thing I want to kind of go over is this here is not stock. This is not the position that these bars would be in, so I can't make a comment about this part of it in terms of the rider triangle. I can the stock position of the foot pegs because they are in their mid position. So I can make a comment on that, but I cannot on the top. I know that the bars where they are in this position, I do like them. They are very nicely set up. My arm comes down to the elbow, bends, and then goes straight out. It's just a nice, relaxing, nice fall. So whoever chose that position, they're about the same trunk height as I am, and I'm 6 foot tall. 32-inch inseam and around 195 pounds. So that's just my dimensions. Alrighty, we are ready to roll. When it comes to the friction zone, it catches at about, actually, a very surprising, as you'll notice, 2. So it starts to roll already right about there, and it really gets bitey at about 2.5. So friction zone's pretty quick on this one. I'm used to kind of the older Harleys that had the hydraulic clutch, which is a little bit lazy. Now up here you do have a gear indicator. It's one of those gear indicators that as soon as you pull in the clutch it loses signal, so it does not tell you what gear you're in. It's only guessing based on mathematical wizardry, so it's not a actual gear position switch per se. It is just one that takes a guess. You do have a fuel gauge as well on the left side. Now even with this S&S race pipe on it, it's actually fairly tame sounding, believe it or not. And I always found it funny that in this era of Harley Davidson, they would do an LED headlight, but they do incandescent bulbs on the turn signals. I have no idea what that was about. For the new one, they did indeed actually change that, so it is all LED around, finally. Another thing that they did for the newer ones as well is that they put the traditional dial back in place. So it has a traditional speedometer, round, and all that good stuff. They also added ride modes and all that, as I mentioned before. So they are somewhat modernizing them. But I do like the fact that they did get rid of the little postage stamp here. I've never been a fan of that style of gauge. But I'm not going to take it away from that because, like I said, it's changed. But what I am going to take away from is I don't understand where Harley gets their rider triangle from. Because, again, the bars I can't comment on, but on the lower half right now, as you can see, my leg comes well above this tank. This tank is bigger than the Chief's tank. My leg slides pretty much right beside the tank on the Chief. Whereas this one here, I'm well above it. Part of that is because we are in a mid-mount motorcycle. Now, one thing about the mid-mount is you don't hit the snorkel. If you had the forward mount, you're into the snorkel. I mean, that's why those are stupid. Stupid. I hate that design, and I hate the fact that they keep putting it on there as a base option because they think it looks cool, and I guess there are people who thinks it's cool, but that thing does nothing in terms of performance and everything. It is just pointless. Get rid of the dumb thing. Put a high flow filter on it, yes, but get rid of the snorkel because that doesn't do nothing. It doesn't cause ram air. You have to go really fast if you want ram air out of it, but it doesn't even cause it. It's just pointless. So you can't really put your foot forward unless you change two things, and that's going to be a very expensive endeavor. Now, in terms of turning ability, despite being a little bit top heavy, because one thing about Harleys is you do set on top of the motorcycle. That's part of the reason why my legs are so high up on this one, is because you sit more on top than you do into the motorcycle. But the turning is okay. It's still pretty clean. But you do kind of have to muscle it in to get to where it needs to be as well at the same time. It's kind of a weird combination. I mean, yeah, it turns in nice and clean, but at a certain point, you really got to put your arm into it to make it get down and do what you want it to do. So anyway, back to the seating position. When you're sitting on it, because you are sitting on it, you sit too tall and you can't find a comfortable position, at least at my height. And part of that is the way the seat is and the way the controls are. So the seat kind of has me like this in a sense. So I'm really locked in there, but my front portion's actually kind of going on to the tank. This is the stock seat. This is not a reduced reach or anything like that. This is a stock seat, but like seriously, you're cupped in here very weird, and then your legs come kind of up from where I'm sitting at. Like that's the weird part. You're sitting on, but partially in, and it does not make sense. So my legs are coming out and up, and then fall slightly forward of mid to the feet. And it's just a cattywampus position on the lower end, and it's just not a comfortable motorcycle. And that is the reason why I got a little bit hateful to it on the previous ride, and it's why I'm not too happy about it right now, because I'm just not a fan of how uncomfortable I am right now. And when I'm uncomfortable, I get a little bit angry. Don't we all? Right now we are at 66, 67 miles an hour. Our tachometer right now is reading 2,420 RPM. One thing about the Milwaukee 8 is 6th gear truly is an overdrive. So when you're at this and you give her a rip, it takes a moment for it to start really to get going. One thing I like about how Indian is tuned is that in 6th gear, you can still take off. But I do know that Harley does get a little bit better fuel economy than the Indians do, but that's because that 6th gear is designed to be more of an overdrive than it is to be anything else. So it's designed for the highway cruising. Is it enough to get away from normal everyday traffic? For the most part, it is. However, if you need to do a dash, then you're gonna have to downshift and go, and you can see how much faster that got up to speed with the same amount of throttle input by doing that one quick downshift and a go. But thing is, you have to be cognizant, ready, and able to do that, you know, in a very quick amount of time. Some people, they're a little distracted by their surroundings and may not be able to do that. It's nice to have the ability to dash without extra input. But that's always been something with the Milwaukee 8 since it came out. I had complaints about that, and I worked for Harley. And I test rode the first generation of these things coming out, you know, in 2017. I got in trouble for those videos because I was talking very negatively. Because when Harley Davidson made the new series of Softails and everything, they truly were aiming at our generation, millennial, because that's who was up and coming at that time. And to have a millennial that worked for him that said, this is stupid, not the greatest, wish it was better, kind of ticked him off. I didn't care. I was told to remove the videos, and as soon as I left, they were back. So they're all up still. But at one point I was actually told to remove them because I just wasn't taken by these things, and I still am not. There's something about the Milwaukee 8 that just doesn't resonate with me. I think it's because of all things, even though it's got technically more power, it just doesn't excite on the twist of a throttle unless you're riding it kind of hard. It wants to rev a little bit more. That's fine. But one thing about big American V-twins is we like that off-the-line immediate torque and power. That's what we expect from these machines. And whenever you are, like I said, in this kind of condition, that's not what it's doing. That downshift and go is where you get it. Some people get excitement from that, yes. But it's not all there to me. I like the twin cam one better. Twin cam had a little bit better power band to me. Felt like it was able to catch into speed a little bit better. I know it wasn't as powerful. I know that when these engines came out, we were beating the twin cam by 2 bike lengths.
And, you know, yeah, sure, but you kind of took away the soul. You took away the fact that it felt like the engine was going to detonate between your legs trying to get to that speed, and took away something, I think, from Harley and what they were doing. It's like, I get that there's a need to push forward. It's like, I like the Revolution Max engine. It's smoother than this one. It's powerful. You know, it's a great engine, but I don't like the wrappers around it. And maybe the Milwaukee 8's the same problem. Just the chassis dynamics and everything that's wrapped around it isn't exactly my flavor. And that could be part of the reason why I am kind of disappointed in the way this thing performs. Maybe it's because I'm uncomfortable on top of it. Maybe it's because I just don't like the transmission set, you know, where its gears are and all that good stuff. Maybe it is as simple as that. That's what I'll go with on that. Now, let me make some good comments here. This has extremely good road handling weight. Whenever we're in higher winds, which we had the other day, this thing holds the line beautifully. So it's got great road handling characteristics, especially on longer trips and everything. Another thing is the suspension is totally modern, like I was mentioning. And it actually feels totally modern. Again, remember, you do have the hydraulic adjuster in the back under the seat, so you have to remove the seat, and there's a little cylinder sitting there with a tab in it, basically, that you wrench down to where you want it. And then that way, you can adjust your preload to where you need it to be. Right now, wherever this one is set is actually pretty good for me. Another good thing about the Milwaukee 8 is the fantastic engine braking on this motorcycle. So when needed, all you got to do is downshift, match rev, and it nicely takes you down in speed. Now, I will say that this one does not have an assisted slipper or anything like that, like the modern Indians do. So that is 1 point for the Indian, because if you hard downshift on a Harley, you're still going to possibly get that wheel locking for a moment, get that skeet. And if you're not ready for it, might scare the pants off of you. So the Indian definitely has that in for it, as well as having that nice slipper assisted clutch. The front brakes on this thing are nice and meaty. I do like the front brakes on this bike, but the back brake, if you guys had seen my videos back when these first came out, the back brake is still trash. Absolutely trash. Get into gear. And that's the other part too. The transmission, not smooth shifting, especially 1 to 2. Now that could be something about the mileage on this bike too. But in my experience, it's not. This bike does feel every bit as young as it should. I mean, it does not feel like it's got 60-something thousand miles on it. It is riding really nice in terms of everything else, except for the things that were a problem when I rode the new ones. These transmissions are always a little bit lazy. They're not as authoritative. The only thing authoritative that they got is that downshift into 1 and that massive clunk to tell you it made it. Everything else, though, it's like shifting through sand. So you get the downshifts somewhat right, which we're doing here. But man, yeah. I'm just using the back brake to stop here just to kind of prove a point. It'll stop it eventually. And yes, I understand. I totally understand that, yeah, it's only 25-30% of the power of the stopping ability of this bike. Yes, but you still want it to feel okay. You still want it to feel like you can modulate it. I have stomped on this thing and can't figure out where the ABS module actually kicks in on it. It's a freaking lazy brake, man. And I mean, especially with that large of a lever and that big pedal that this person put on it, you would think with that much meat, and that's probably why they did it. You know, the lever is the stock one, but the big pedal is not. It's probably because they're sitting there going, man, I just need a little bit more give to make this make sense for me. And that's why they did that. And guess what? It probably didn't. They're probably still sitting there going, I can't get this thing to brake the way I want it to. And I can agree with that. I do not like the way this thing brakes. Yeah, I'm giving it a mighty yank into gears right there. Because like I said, I'm getting tired of it missing second gear, always going into neutral instead. But this broken road, like I said, if you notice, it's very stable on it. Like I said, the suspension is good on it. And the engine, like I said, the way it's geared and everything, not exactly my favorite cup of tea. It doesn't seem to have the soul that it used to, you know, when it was under the twin cam. But yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the fairing as well. Now, from what I can feel, this area right through here up to about my eye level is a pretty good, solid bubble. You do have those vents pulling in that air that helps upset it and kind of shove it over you, hopefully. However, I do catch an immediate amount of wind right at the brow level and over where I get some buffeting at the top of the helmet. So I do actually get some buffet off of this one at my seating height. But that's not a big deal. That's honestly to be expected. I don't expect smaller fairings like this to protect everything. So again, I like being connected to the machine and to the wind. But man, there's just something about this one that doesn't quite jive with me. Call it bias, but let me tell you something. I love my Moto Guzzi's, man. They bop and jive just fine. I love a Boxer twin on a BMW. Does the same thing. Parallel twins on a Triumph. Parallel twins on most of the other motorcycles that have them. The engines just have a specific impulse and a bop and a jive that make them feel mechanical and great. This one somewhere got disconnected and I can't put my finger fully on it. Even stretching it out between shifts, doesn't feel as potent as its numbers suggest. I think that is the best way to describe it. In theory, it has more power. But I feel like in practice, it just doesn't feel quite like it. So when I compare the two of them, for my height and the way these bikes are, they are a little bit, uncomfortable to me. And that's just because I'm a bigger guy. I like the way that the Sport Chief sits down and in the bike. Like you literally sit down and in. and that you do have a forward mount on it, so that way your leg comes out and down to the peg. That way you have a little bit more comfortable touring position. Whereas this bike here, in its current configuration, the top half is totally fine. The bottom half is not great. And I'm pretty sure that the stock ones are probably somewhat similar, I hope. But I'd have to try a stock one to be able to fully comment on that. Another thing I like about the Sport Chief RT versus this one is the fit and finish just feels better. When you're riding around, I'm watching this huge plastic chunky thing just vibrating all over the place in front of me. And it, I mean, yeah, it doesn't make a noise or nothing. It just kind of jiggles around though, so it kind of messes with your eyesight. Like, what is that down? Oh, that's just the fairing doing what it's doing. Sport Chief RT doesn't do that. It also has that speaker up there, which fills in kind of a void, so that's kind of fun. So you get to listen to tunes. The ergonomic and controls are very similar, so I'm not going to take away anything from this one. I like this old school control scheme. I don't mind the separated turn signals. I have forgotten how to use them because I do need to remember they are self-canceling. So every now and again I'll press them and accidentally reactivate, but that's because I'm used to everything being on my left hand again. And that's just from riding the other bike. The brakes on both sides of the Sport Chief are phenomenal because you got the twin Brembo in front, and then you got the brake in the rear that absolutely is responsive. You can tell what it's doing, and you know how to modulate it. This one is just, I mean, even sitting still, just feels like literally stepping on a sponge. Like it's not connected to anything really, and it's kind of crunchy. But and then here's the thing: this has got 60-something thousand miles on it. I made that same comment on one that had 5 miles on it. This is not because of mileage. This is simply because of bad design. Something that was known about in 2017, and we're in 2025. We've got 8 years into this, and Harley is really listening. Not. And that's the big thing, I think it was what it is. I feel like Harley Davidsons are more designed in the boardroom and more designed by committee than it is by committed riders. I think that's the primary problem I have with this bike. The one thing about Polaris engineering is that whenever you ride one, they feel exactly like they've been designed and built by committed riders, people who know what a motorcycle should look and feel like and should ride. The center of gravity is better on an Indian. This one's very top heavy. Again, you're sitting on top of it, not into it. You're not able to spread that weight around like you would if you're sitting into the bike. You sit on top of it and the thing is already top heavy, and you're just adding more weight to it, so it feels a little bit more divey. Like I said, though, it does have good road handling and stability, though, so that's one good thing about it. But in reality, if you're taking one of these two bikes out, the Sport Chief or the Lowrider ST, they're very comparable. They very much well are. However, if you're looking for the one that has the soul of a motorcycle, this isn't it. This one literally the other day just ticked me off, and I'm kind of glad that audio failed. That way I could come back and approach this a little bit more with clarity. And it's not that I'm trying to be biased. In reality, I want Harley Davidson to listen to their riders and do better and produce motorcycles that actually feel like they are designed by people who care, not by a committee who just wants to make the shareholders some extra dollars. I'm tired of these committee bikes. plain and simple. And I think that's what the main problem with Harley Davidson is they're just tired, the riders are tired of the committee bikes, the soulless machines, the same warmed over ideas every time. There's no replacement for displacement, and yet here comes the Power Plus that proves that that's completely wrong. Just making it modern, water-cooled, and tightening up some tolerances and giving it more rev space is definitely replacement for displacement. I think it would be cool if Harley would put the 1250 rev in here, 150 horsepower for this thing, stretch it out a little bit, slam it a little bit for the seat, stretch it out for the legs. Oh my gosh, this would be fun. This would be amazing with that engine. But they don't do it. They have to stick to this tradition where they're sitting there literally on their latest 2026 model bragging thing. We got a part number from the 1930s on those push rod tubes. And that's why you suck. It's because you won't leave that. You're stuck here. Why? And the reason why I'm screaming is because I'm passionate about the fact that I want them to survive, because I want somebody to aim at. Because if they make a better bike, then we make a better bike. And then we keep making it better for everybody. Plain and simple. That's how things are supposed to be in the market. Healthy competition. And I get the sales numbers don't support any of this, you know, because Indian doesn't sell as many bikes as Harley. But you got to remember something. Harley claims all these things, but they're only selling a little over 100,000 bikes a year. Honda sells millions a year. Royal Enfield sells millions a year. There are so many manufacturers above this. Just because you do well in one thing, one place, does not make you a worldwide revolution. It doesn't. 100,000 bikes, whoop-de-freaking-do. They're made by committee, they're priced at a premium, and they don't perform for that. They just don't perform up to what their cost is. And that's my disappointment. You can be a premium bike manufacturer. You can make a premium bike. You can do all that. You can claim exactly that and do exactly that. And I would not have a problem. But when you claim that and you build something like this, it's frustrating. Because it isn't what we asked for. And it isn't what you claimed. And that's where Harley Davidson has truly lost its way. Yes, I'm uncomfortable right now. This is not a comfortable motorcycle. The mirrors have vibrations through them just like they should. You know, I could see clear enough what that was. So there's a feel of being on a machine, but it just doesn't vibe right. Just something about it that just doesn't work right. So that's my thought on all of this. You know, when you want to compare them, I'd say the Sport Chief is better, not from being a biased opinion, and by any means. There's better bikes than the Sport Chief out there, because in reality, I probably wouldn't do a Sport Chief myself. When I bought a Chief, I had to make it my own. I had to kind of do some work on it to make it feel a little bit better. But my Springfield's perfect. But if I jump over to the comparable Harley, it ain't. It's just like this. It's too crammed for some reason. Like, I am crammed onto a Road King and feel too close to all the controls and just like sitting like too smashed on, and it just doesn't feel right. It's just something about the, like I said, I don't know how they choose their rider triangles on this. It doesn't matter which one I'm on. When I rode the new Street Glide, I felt the same way. It was one of the same things that I mentioned. It's like I feel like I'm stretched out on a Chieftain, and I can ride it with confidence because I know that, you know, it's just better. But when it comes to being on a street glide, it's just, I feel so cramped on there. I can't turn the handlebars full lock to lock, at least on that one's positioning. But I was told those were stock. So if I can't do lock to lock, that takes away some of the things I need, especially if I need to do a tight U-turn or anything like that. You know, it's just, it's happening with every single one of them I've been riding. And that just tells me that there's something wrong overall in the design of these things, and they need to work on, you know, no longer being a committee motorcycle or anything like that. So at any rate, this is the Rabbit Hedgehog, and here we go again, trying to find neutral. There we go. This is the ride review and some thoughts over here on the Lowrider ST. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. This bike is for sale at Indian Motorcycle of Oklahoma City, and yes, I ragged on it pretty good, but let me tell you something. There's going to be somebody that's not like me that will actually like it. There's a bike for everybody. This is just not the bike for me. And so at any rate, keep that shiny side up, folks, and we'll catch you on the next ride.